SacAnime, how are y'all doing? Big fans of Red Dead? Yeah. All right, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to introduce the lovely cast. First up, we got the evil bad Peter Blomquest. Second off, we have the lovely camp cook, Jim Santangelli. The mentor and father figure, Curzon Dobell. Gotta love John Marston, right? Rob Weithoff. As Javier Escuela, Gabriel Sloyer. As Bill Williamson, Stephen J. Palmer. As Sadie Adler, Alex McKenna. And last but certainly not least, the great Arthur Morgan, Roger Clark.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. You guys have been awesome. Have you all had a good con? Woo. Yeah, us too, man, us too. Holy cow, look at the big line of questions.
Ooh.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, this is the first time so many of us have been at a convention at the same time. It's been like a reunion. The last time there was this many of us was when we were actually working on the game. And the time that you guys take to come over and say hi and to standing in line and saying what our work meant to you, it means the world to us. Thank you so much. You guys are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you guys really are.
May we have the first question, please?
All right.
Could someone help her with the microphone
Let
stand?
her do it. Let her do it. She can do anything.
Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, she needed help.
Hi.
This is a question for all the cast. What do you think is your favorite moment or scene in Red Dead Redemption 2?
It's happening right now.
Who should go? Someone go first.
All right, I'll go. One of my favorite scenes personally was something that was really quick. I almost thought it was going to get cut, but it's something that happens in camp in the early chapters, and it's a simple scene. It's when my character Bill is at the camp and I'm sitting with John, and we're just drunk and we're laughing, and it's a real tender scene because it's basically Bill admitting to John how jealous he is of the attention he gets from Dutch. But it's not typical Bill where he's angry. It's almost he's drank so much, he's actually just to the point and relaxed. And I think it's the most pure that you see Bill, is he's basically admitting, I'm really jealous of you. Dutch loves you, and I wish I could get that attention. And I think it took Rob and I only a couple takes to do it. We did it early on, and we never went back to it, and I thought it was something that might just been so incidental it got cut. But I started playing the game in October when it came out, and there it was, and it's small, it's not a main mission, but it's personally my favorite scene.
Anyone else?
What was your favorite scene in the whole game?
Oh, that's hard.
The end?
That's why we're struggling too.
Yeah.
You see?
How about that
hard
one
question.
scene with Micah? No? Nothing?
Well,
That's all right.
That's okay.
I really like it when Arthur and
John, Sadie, Pearson.
I'm sorry, I spaced out your name.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Hosea.
Hosea. Just keep me. When Arthur and Hosea are hunting for the bear, I really like the scene where they're just talking and they're trying to find it. I really like that scene.
You remember that, Curzon?
Yeah, I do.
That was that was like in the 5th year.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was, and then it ended up being pretty early in the game. And I'm glad it was like that because...
If it was late in the game, I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, right.
Why? What happens?
Spoilers. Well, another reason I liked it too, though, is because you and I had become quite close friends at that point, and so...
Yeah.
You know, we knew each other inside and out, and we trusted each other as we were working together, and I think it made a better foundation for showing the players the relationship that Arthur and Hosea had.
I think the fun part of that scene for me was Hosea telling Arthur, we're going to go get this bear. It's going to be great. It's a huge bear. Be careful, but we're going to get it together. We're going to get it. And then, you know, we hear the growl, and the bear appears, and suddenly, what happened to Hosea? Well, I'm behind this big rock over here. I'll be all right. And Arthur takes care of it. And then, you know, we meet up afterwards, and I think that's when I say, thanks, you saved my life. I think I say that a few times to Arthur in the game. So, yeah, we had a great friendship.
I'm not sure if it's the best scene in the game, but I remember the day we all shot. Maybe it's the first or second scene of the whole game where they bring in the body and it's everybody. It's like Dutch trying to like rally everybody and be like, "We'll be okay." Yeah. Remember we shot that and it was when we were done. People started clapping and they said it was the most motion, like the performance capture artist ever in like one scene. Yeah, I might be full of crap. I have no idea what I'm saying, but you're right. I thought somebody said that to me, and I was like, "Wow, I'm really honored to be in this scene." Yeah.
No, you're right, because as we worked on it for several years, we saw the technology advanced while we were working on it, and by the time we did that shot, there was literally like about 15 of us.
Yeah, it was a big.
And there was 15 of us in the volume at the same time, and a couple of years beforehand, that would have been extremely difficult because the sensors can only pick up so many balls before it starts getting confused. And then it would confuse my arm with Alex's arm, and then you'd look at us in the screen, and our arms would be switching and whatnot. So, but as the technology got better and better, then we had the capacity to actually have that many actors in a scene. And one of the beauties of performance capture is like that would have taken us days to do with film because there would have had to have been so many changing of the camera positions and whatnot. But with performance capture, the camera's anywhere and everywhere you want. And the director, if he or she chooses, can change it in post. So we did it much like you would have done theater in the round, you know? So that was pretty cool. That's a good point, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ryder.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
very good.
Yes.
Baby Sadie.
No need to be worried. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
How are you?
Thank you for coming out. I'm doing pretty good. Okay, what I wanted to ask today is, I was here yesterday, and Alex mentioned at one point that you guys got the script in bits and pieces. You know, it didn't all unravel linearly. And I wanted to ask that at what point did you find out the eventuality of your characters, how you took that, and for those, like for Rob, Steve, and Gabriel, how you felt that added to them and how you felt about the end result about all that.
Somebody start.
All right.
Well,
Earmuffs for those who haven't finished the game.
Oh,
So no spoilers.
I'll just say for me, being one of the few actors returning from the first game, is obviously Rob and I knew how things were going to end if you're going in chronological order, but it really was for me the eye-opening of the fleshing out of the characters and what got them to that point. As an example, I will remember the scene that Peter and I shot when I find out the scene where you find out Yeah, spoilers. And you find out Bill's actual given name. And I just remember, like, in the green room getting the sides and being like, and I'm like, Peter, look at this. And I'm showing Ben Davis, who plays Dutch, and there he's like, no way. And just little things like that. And that becomes kind of just
it was Miriam, right?
What's that?
It was Miriam, right?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
Marion.
It's Marion.
I don't know if that's a big spoiler
at this point.
Same name as John.
That was John Wayne's real name, too.
Yes.
And I don't think that's a coincidence either.
No. I think that's a great homage to the great genre of westerns. Mazel tov. We dropped this. But it just moments like that I knew that it was going to flesh out, and how much more the stuff we worked on in Red Dead 2, how that will impact what is the result, which is the original Red Dead Redemption. And when I said it at yesterday's panel for those of you who came back, but I was telling people coming up to my table and meeting is there's people who have like an Xbox One, they have backwards compatibility, they played the new game to completion, and then they're putting in Red Dead 1 and playing that for the first time and letting the story happen in the right sequence. And it's a completely different experience from those who played the first game and now what have you, but it really it'll flesh out the story, and that really depends on you, the player, how you decide to play, both games. But to answer your question, I just think that I knew how. My whole thing is I know where Bill ends up, but what connected the dots and what shorted out the fuses to make him have that choice to end up where he was, and it was a great experience as an actor to get to fill in those gaps over the course of 5 years.
That kind of how you felt, Gabriel? Or how do you see your turns?
I started, my whole thing was knowing where Javier also was going to go. My whole objective was to infuse as much heart and soul and humanity and friendship and love into it so that people might think twice about the way they played the first one. And to find that gray area of like, hey, anybody who joins a gang is looking for family, even today, and when a gang dissolves, like any family dissolves, that's a painful process. I remember meeting Roger, and like I got along famously with him. I was like, this is awesome. I get to go to work with my buddy here. It's fantastic. And then 4 years into it, it started to be like, well, he was like, Javier, and I was like, damn, our whole thing is falling apart. I mean, it was a heartbreak to just the same way that it unfolds in the game. So if you're asking how was the end, how did it impact, was that the question kind of?
For you, like...
Yeah, it broke my heart. That's the answer.
It broke my heart too, don't worry.
Yeah.
So much like Steve said, I knew that I was going to live.
You're not wrong.
Right? So, but the things that I learned along the way, I knew that John started off as being just a kind of a nuisance to everyone, and maybe like a kid that's just trying so hard to get the respect he's seeing his elders get, and not knowing how to get it. And then as I got more of the script and as we moved on, I realized just how important Arthur's role played in John's life, and it really was. It was so cool to know why John is the way that he turned out. And it was, not only was it cool to learn it, but it was really an emotional thing too, to especially shoot those ending scenes. And it was really great. But yeah, I knew I was gonna live, so whatever.
For a while anyway.
Man, house money.
That's right. A little while anyway.
I think he's staring at you, man.
Yeah.
I think you are too.
It's hard to tell where you
Only got the one eye, sorry.
I'm not going to ask you again.
Well, again, spoiler alert, because there are probably some people who haven't played all the way through the game.
Raise your hands if you haven't finished the game, and this might be spoiled for you.
Oh my
Oh God, get out of here, please.
So get out of here for a little while.
So I better not
You're
say
gonna love
anything.
the ending.
To spare you folks, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
There's some surprises. So you have a lot to look forward to and a lot to brace yourself and get emotional about. Because I would say that, like we were chatting, and I didn't know what was going to happen to those that were not in the first game. But since we're a prequel, it seemed pretty obvious. So yeah, there's some things and some surprises, and there are some reliefs and some real sad moments. I feel like that's pretty much what we can say.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the previous Red Dead. Obviously, I played it many times before I even knew I was going to be a part of this one, and once I started to get an inkling as to what Arthur's arc was going to be in this one, I was like, well, how does Arthur find his redemption then, Because John's impetus for his redemption is the love that he has for his family, obviously, and he wants to keep them safe. And Arthur doesn't have that. So, but then as the story started to progress, and without giving too much away, he's confronted with his own mortality. That I think makes Arthur look at his life in a different way, and life in general in a different way, and gives him a new perspective on things. And I think that's what changes in Arthur, and that's where he starts to find some sort of redemption before the end of the game.
Make his peace.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
No problem, man.
You're looking at me now.
I am looking at you now. With my one good eye.
I forgot the question.
How did you feel about how everything turned out, and when you finally found out what your fate was, or how you
Again, there are people who haven't finished the game.
I now realize this is a semi-problematic question.
It is. Let's just say it wasn't unexpected.
How about more than the eventual fate? How do you feel about your arc, where you went?
That's a good question. I feel pretty good about it. No, it's
cocky to the end, eh?
Yeah, no, it was. As everyone has said, we were, and as you know, we didn't get all of the information right off the bat. So, the writers and, the words that we would get on paper were always so amazing that everything, the arc just sort of fell into place, organically, for me anyway, as I went along. And so by the time the end of that journey was revealed, it all made perfect sense to me in here. So, yeah. I hope that satisfies.
That is, thank you.
Yeah.
How about you, Persian?
Me? Yeah. To find out that I was Arthur all along was.
I didn't see
Sorry about
Shyamalan's
that,
name on
everybody.
this
But
game.
look, you should finish the game if you're going to come to these things. Pearson is Arthur. Arthur is Pearson, and it's we talked about duality yesterday, and it was really hard because it's like you're catching food, you're making food. It's a lot. You end up doing a lot of the work, and it's a lot of resentment. And thank you for asking that question. I appreciate it because I really wanted to talk about that. Anyways, enjoy the game.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
I just thought the line that I hate you, Uncle Arthur was hilarious, so I thought I'd start with that. And so, in honor of Jack, I was going to ask, how would your character react to an adult Jack as a combat companion?
As a what companion?
Combat companion, like riding together as outlaws type of thing.
Well, Jack, he's just as good as John or Arthur, really. I mean, as far as gameplay is concerned. So, yeah, he's pretty comparable to the two of them. He's got the dead eye and everything. I know. What do you think of his character as a matter of preference? I think he's awesome, to be honest. I just think it's a real tragedy that that's the way he actually turns out, because that's what Arthur and John really kind of gave their lives so that it wouldn't happen. But that's the real tragedy of the whole story. I mean, that's that's the way tragedies usually go. But John, is a victim of circumstance, and as much as his family tried to make sure that he wouldn't follow the same path as his parents and all of his other guardians throughout his childhood, he ended up doing the one thing. He ended up not realizing that revenge is an idiot's game. It's kind of sad. But he's pretty good with, his Deadeye is just as good.
I mean, I'd ride with him.
I think Jack is a very important character in the series. I don't think he gets enough credit. If you've played the original game, you play, like I said, you play in chronological order. You're watching he has the one unique perspective. It's like it was his youth. No matter what you think of members of the gang, Jack, that was his uncles and aunts. That was his family. And where he goes by the end of the original Red Dead Redemption, as much as there's so much heartbreak in the series, he is the tether to all of that. He is the culmination of every gang member. He is what keeps them, he's what keeps them alive. And when you know what happens at the end of the original game, that is the true revenge of the Vanderlyn gang. It wasn't what they wanted for him, but it's kind of what happens. So in a lot of ways, you could argue that he's the most fierce member because he survived the most. How do you like them apples?
I would have no problem riding with my son, Jack.
What do you want me to say? Good answer. Nobody knows. At least John was man enough to stand up and play the role, at least, right?
Oh, okay. Next question, please.
It's been a long time, brother.
I do want to say that Josh Blaylock was the kid that played Jack in Red Dead Redemption, and he was such a cool kid. And you play the game, and people had such an attachment with John because they walked around with him for so long and did so many things. And by the time they got to Jack, they didn't know him. I mean, they knew him, right? They saw him as a little kid, but he's all grown up now, and it wasn't John, and it wasn't the player, like all of us who played the game. And so I think it really was unfortunate that he didn't get the love that he absolutely deserved. And I know that people love the character, they really do, but Josh was so cool, and I'm so glad that I got to work with him. And I would say that, much like these guys have said, that that kid is going to be one bad man growing up in that gang like he did. So I'd ride with him any day.
Hosea had very little interaction with Jack. We had one or two really touching scenes where I think I'm teaching him to read, and I enjoyed that immensely. But it's funny, just talking about the game, which took years to make, and this guy and I were often called on the same day, but we have very few scenes together. If you watch the game, we do like 3 things together at the most. So I don't really know. I can't claim that Hosea spent a lot of time with Jack or with John.
Again. What was the term you used? Combat what?
Combat companion?
Combat companion. I like that. I would love for Jack to be my combat companion. Maybe someday, right? maybe Pearson's still alive somewhere out there. Pearson Arthur, as we know. Maybe they can someday ride as friends. Thank you for that question.
Jack is adorable.
Say again?
Jack is adorable.
He is. He is adorable.
That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
First off, thank you for coming out. This question is for Alex McKenna. You reprised your role as Sadie in the online version of Red Dead just recently with the most recent update. Was there any differences between recording lines for the main storyline versus recording lines for the online?
Well, we filmed a lot of it the exact same way, where it was full motion capture with the facial recognition. So I actually got to be in the studio acting with Jake. It was very cool to meet my husband and get to have a little bit of private time before, and then also get to really see what she talks about when she says that she and her husband were equals and that they shared the work. And, you know, given the time period, that's extremely progressive. And I think you get a sense of who she was before everything gets taken away from her. And she's still a tough cookie. And she's, you know, she points a gun at you, bye. So, you know, it's you see this character arc, or at least the before, because everyone's, you know, she's just a broken woman, she's this damsel in distress, and I don't actually think that that's true. I don't think she was ever a damsel in distress, but the gang meets her at the darkest, most unfortunate time in her life, and she's in grief and a lot of pain and hysterical for very, very good reason. So yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a very similar process, not even like a little bit of the time that of the 5 years. It was, you know, just a couple days. And then, as we say, you know, most of it was theater in the round, and then maybe 15% of whatever was in a voiceover booth doing recording.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hi.
Hi.
I know I've been asking where's Gavin all weekend, but where's the princess?
Where's who?
The princess, when you arrive at Annenberg, the poster of the missing 5-year-old princess.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow, a good one.
Turns out
That's
it was
the first time
it
that's
was
gone.
Pearson the whole time. Really, I'm glad you asked that question, because
It really matches the image.
it messes me up too. It was really hard to play. Yeah, that's pretty much the answer for a lot of these.
I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
man.
she's with Nigel. No, Gavin.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Hello, my question is for everyone. What was your very first impression when you knew you were going to be on Red Dead Redemption? Did you even knew what it was?
I can say that no, I didn't. I went to an audition called Untitled Video Game Project, and it was through my commercial agent. And I thought it was a promo for a video game that had already been made. And so I thought, all right, cool. But yeah, so I went to this audition. I had this full sheet of lines to learn, and then I got in the room, and they made me read these lines and fold laundry at the same time for whatever reason. So I'm folding laundry saying, yeah, you know, I really loved your apple pie, but I got to leave town. And I think for... So you know, like none of it made any sense. And then a couple weeks later, my agent called and said, "Hey, you booked that thing," and I'm like, "Awesome! What is it?" I don't know. So I didn't know until I got there and signed this really large NDA. And then at that point, I found out, oh my goodness, this is awesome. So that's my story.
That's exactly what happened to me. Yeah.
I honestly think that might be everybody's story. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
it was a
probably.
commercial audition, Untitled. They made me do weird stuff. Like I walked in a circle and said a couple lines. I don't think it was that was a really good apple pie. We all did the apple pie line. And then I found out like a year later. It was like a year went by, and they're like, "You got that thing." It's the same thing. It's like, what did I get? I don't even know what I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Oh, I didn't mean to speak for everybody. I don't know if that's everybody's...
No, you did.
It's pretty much across the board.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Keep it up, Jack.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is for Roger Clark, but it's a non-Red Dead Redemption 2 question.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Sure.
So, I recently read from IDMB, Internet Movie Database, that you were an Irish dancing champion.
Yeah.
So, my question is, what got you into dancing?
My mother. Yeah, I started when I was about 4 or 5, and she's like, "You're going to Irish dancing." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough." And then they showed me that I had to wear a kilt, and I thought it was a dress, and I don't know. No, I don't want to do this, but of course she made me. So, yeah, we would go around to faces around the tri-state area, and I would do a jig and a reel. I'm not doing one now, don't ask. I don't have the shoes for it, And besides, I forgot almost everything. But yeah, we used to go around and go competing and whatnot, and yeah, I gave up when I was about 12 or 13. Yeah. Thanks for your question. I wasn't expecting that.
Learned something new.
That's awesome.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm getting married in October. And
Congrats!
Congratulations. Thank you. That lovely man over there. And it got me thinking about John and Abigail, and if they'd gotten married while the gang was still together and they were all still in the happy times, what kind of shenanigans would your characters get into at the wedding?
You just made me sad now. It's a shame that John and Abigail didn't get married sooner. Otherwise, it would have been a lot of fun. We were at the last panel yesterday. One of the things we were talking about is, as we were filming the whole game, one of the happiest moments, I think, for us, as well as our characters, was when Jack comes back from the Bronte mansion. Because we did that towards the end of the whole filming thing. And, it was awesome because we were all there together and we had known each other for years at that point, and we were all friends. That makes me think now, if only they had, well, that's just not the way it happened, is it? But, yeah, a wedding would have been a lot of fun, wouldn't it have?
Oh, blast. Sorry, I think we're all just imagining it right now. Dancing.
Uncle would have puked all over the wedding cake, probably.
For sure. For sure.
I don't think Bill would have gotten in a suit again, but I think that he would have had a good time.
Can you
Or
imagine?
not.
Swanson would have probably wanted to officiate,
Oh, yeah, he would.
I wish I can't really do Sean Haberly's voice, but can you imagine if he was off his head on Morpheus's embrace while he was trying to get them married?
Pearson would make a cake, I assume.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You would have gotten like that card that said like chicken or fish, but it would have been like stew or stew. Like, select one, please, and RSVP on time. Yeah.
I feel Javier probably would have sang a few songs, maybe.
I think he would have been shy and then eventually sang some songs, and then by the end of it was dancing with everybody's wife and hanging out.
And that's how Jack was made.
Yeah.
Now you know the origin. You're finding out way too much about this, though. This is secret. Spoilers.
Nothing to say now, Rama.
John would have to behave for Abigail to put a gun in his mouth.
Yeah, that's why I like her so much.
What are you going to do for your wedding? Have you got any Red Dead ideas?
We are going to play Cruel, Cruel World after our first dance.
Awesome!
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
Where's the wedding going to be?
In Forest Hill, up by Auburn.
We can make that.
Yeah.
I'll send invites.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much ahead of time. Really. And putting us up, too, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
First class accommodations.
You don't have to, but we appreciate it.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
Peter and I especially.
Yeah.
There are rooms available at the venue if you RSVP soon.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, you in?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, good.
It'll be big.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you guys worked together for 5 years through a lot of really hard work and dedication. I'm sure one of you guys is the prankster of the group. Which one? Jim?
No, I'm not a prankster.
Oh.
I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just an awesome guy. Gabriel.
I always liked it when Jim and Peter were in on the same day because I would just laugh. Yeah, those two guys are pretty funny. You're pretty funny, guys. You know that?
Oh, hey, down there. Hey,
how's it going? Hey.
I will say it's hard to pull pranks when everybody's wearing like spandex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really want to do anything that's.
That is a great way to get to know each other really well, though.
Yeah, no, it is true. Wearing the spandex is sort of inherently a prank in and of itself.
Yeah, booking the job was the prank.
Yeah.
It was just wearing spandex and little ballies.
Yeah. What?
For whatever reason,
Little ballies?
Mine weren't so little.
Yeah.
Don't make me look
Oh,
like an
little
idiot. You wear
ballies,
little
little
ballies,
ballies.
man. I'm not
Right.
just going like, and my little ballies.
For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe boredom, 5 years, I started a rumor that the director, Rod Edge, was my dad, my stepdad.
That was a good one. I remember that. That was a good one.
Yeah, we got you pretty good.
And then a lot of the newbies would come in and go, I don't know, he seems so upset. I'm like, oh, that's just my dad. Don't worry, he's like that. He likes you, he's good, he's good.
Are you the groom, by the way?
I am.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for answering my question.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm also getting married within a year, and all these guys are invited to my wedding. So if something happens, I'll send you a video, all right?
Hey guys.
Hey.
I was just wanted to say, like when this game came out, I had really bad mental problems I was dealing with, and I feel like I never thought the game with thieves and murderers would be like have such human characters. It would kind of give me back some humanity. So thank you for that. And just to lead into my question, dealing with all this stuff, I had a lot of very there's a lot of tragedy, and while playing the game, I kind of thought like, as much as I'm connecting to these characters, you guys were those characters. So I guess I just ask, like, if there are scenes that are really hard for me to watch because they're just so sad, like for you guys, are there any scenes with your characters that are just too hard to watch?
That's a good question. I mean, I think as we all get older, a lot of things happen. And so over the course of 5 years, I think a lot of us experienced some beautiful things, marriage, the birth of children, but there was a lot of loss as well with, friends and loved ones and family members. And so I think, a lot of us have these emotional scenes in the game, and it was not a stretch to draw from that experience. So while it doesn't really mirror our lives exactly, there was an absolute emotional resonance there. And I hope that you guys felt that, because if
Definitely.
we were crying in the game or we were emotional or choked up, then that's exactly what was happening. It was not being put on in our voices. We were acting it with one another. And I mean, I can say when I'm getting my revenge and we're sitting there and I'm feeling like I'm a monster, essentially, I think that is something that I was feeling in that moment, because we had spent a lot of time, and that's a really intense thing to go through. Even if it wasn't Alex, it was Alex being Sadie. So, yeah.
I agree. I think it was harder to do it than to watch it, because for a lot of reasons too, of course, and what Alex just said, we are in the moment. One of the weird things actors often get is, oh, how do I know you're telling the truth? Are you acting now? Which never made a lot of sense to me, and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to many actors, because an actor's job isn't to lie, it's to tell the truth, or at least to convince the audience that they're telling the truth. So I know doing it was a lot more difficult, and another reason why was because most of us resemble our characters, but after we had finally started playing the game, which most of us have done, years had gone by since we had done a lot of those scenes. And so time allowed a bit of space and for those emotions to die down a little bit. And also the fact that we don't look exactly like ourselves, it lends us a bit of objectivity to actually look at the performance too. Because I hate seeing myself on film, but when I see Arthur, it's slightly different because it's not obvious that it's me. I mean, he sounds like me, he looks a little bit like me, he's far uglier, of course, but but there's a bit of a distance there where we can look at it with more objectivity. So I think doing that was a lot more difficult than it is watching it now. Now I watch it and I actually look back on it fondly.
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting to get that insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Hi. I like your hat.
Oh, thank you. Quick point out, my girlfriend's in the audience, babe. She's a hot Funyun, I'm a regular Funyun. We're the Funyun couple.
Wait, what is she? You're a Funyun and she's what?
Hot Funyuns.
Hot
Funyuns,
okay.
So my question is for Arthur. How was it recording Lemony and Bartender? How was it recording the bar scene?
When I'm with Hosea?
With Lenny.
Oh,
where
with
you and
Lenny.
get drunk.
Oh, yeah. That was different from a lot of other stuff because for all of you who've done it, spoilers. But anyway, it was very interjected, much like an evening on the booze often is, and you only, when you look back on it, you only remember certain parts of it, So Harron Atkins, who was Lenny, is a wonderful, wonderful actor from Detroit. Say hi to Harron. Harron's awesome. We had a blast doing that, but it wasn't like anything else because it was so cut, like edited and it was like 1 second we had to run over to one corner of the volume and do the can, and then the next second we're running over there and we're smacking each other in the face or pretending to as hard as we could, and then every once in a while the animators would just go, I don't know, Raj, just do something weird and funny. I was like, okay. So there wasn't any real through line through them, It took about 2 or 3 days for us to do all of that stuff. And when me and Harron were doing it, we didn't really have a clear idea of how it was going to turn out. And I never expected it to get the response that it did. And I think Harron shares that as well. But when I played it in the game, I was like, wow, this is just like it. And it kind of reminds me, there's that one bit too where everyone in the bar is Lenny. It reminds me of, if you know, the Aphex Twin videos where that's freaky. So, yeah, it was a lot of different. And then the endings too was good fun as well. So, yeah, again, going back to my previous answer, I remember it very fondly. And some of it was done in the booth, too, going back to what Alex says with performance capture versus voice acting, Most of what we did on the game was performance capture, but screaming Lenny was done in the booth. And, yeah, that took a bit of a toll, because I was going for it, man, as you probably heard today as well.
Thank you so much. You guys are all awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My question is for Rob specifically. Well, as I understand it, after the original Red Dead, you had basically retired from acting in general to go back to Indiana, was it?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, and I was so happy to find out you were coming back for the sequel. What brought you back?
So I guess by moving away from Los Angeles, my wife and I wanted to have kids. My wife grew up in LA, and she said, yeah, I want to have kids, but I don't think I want to try and raise kids in Los Angeles. And I thought, yeah, you don't really see a lot of kids around here, where I lived, I guess, anyway. But I thought, yeah, and I don't want to be a bartender trying to find acting work, trying to support a family. So we decided to move, and we moved back to Indiana, where my family is, where I grew up. And I think, I did a kind of a little documentary kind of thing with Polygon, and we talked about a whole lot of things. And one of the things that they kind of took and ran with was me saying that I'm done with acting. I wasn't actively searching for more work, but to say that I was retired, I mean, even so, like right now, I can say the same thing. I'm not actively looking for more work, but I'm not retired either. I don't know if I've had a long enough career to really retire anyway, but I think the truth is, when Rockstar got in touch with me, and it was Rod Edge, the director, who called me, and we, kept in touch a little bit here and there between the end of Undead Nightmare and the time where he called me for this. But he said, hey, so we're thinking about doing maybe a little bit more Red Dead. Are you interested in being a part of that? I mean, before he could even get it out, I said, yes, absolutely. When do we start? I was so excited, and I would absolutely do the same thing again if they called me again. But, having a wife and kids is very different than being single, which is what I was when we started Red Dead Redemption. I was a bartender, and I was kind of like a bartender in LA. I was wild. I went wherever I wanted and had no responsibility. But, yeah, I definitely had a whole different thing going on at the beginning of Red Dead 2. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. You answered it very well. Thank you very much, sir. And
Right on,
thank
man.
you,
Thank you.
all of you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but can we please get another round of applause for this lovely cast? Thank you all so much for coming out.